As we begin our time together, before we have our conversation around staying connected to college students and other post-high young adults, I invite you to pray with me. Dear Jesus, we invite you to be with us here. We thank you for your presence with us. Thank you for the various ways that you have called us into ministry to serve your church. As we gather today to talk about staying connected to young adults after high school, we just invite you to be present here to guide our conversation, to inspire us with the ideas that will be effective and in discipling the young people in our care to be in lifelong relationship with you, transforming a lifelong transforming relationship into your likeness. Our eyes are open, our ears are ready to hear, our hearts are open for what you have for us today. In your name we pray, amen. Okay, let's begin by hearing from Andrea.
Well, hello, I'm Andrea Wall, and I am the pastor of Faith Formation at Bethesda Mennonite Church in Henderson, Nebraska. And I have been pastoring here for 13 years. I'm part of a ministry team, and so there's three of us. One is the preaching pastor, I do faith formation, and the other is pastoral care and worship. And so, so in thinking about high school aged kids, this is probably one of my favorite age groups to work with. I loved college. I loved going to college, and the majority of our students that are in our congregation do go to college. And so we don't have very many that end up going in a career path. So we have kind of, for that young adults out of high school age group, have focused a lot on connecting to kids at college is kind of where our congregation is at. So over the 13 years, one of the things that I have realized is, and mentioned earlier to Amanda and Nan, was that it is really hard in the midst of all the other ministry that I do with faith formation and everything else from funerals to weddings and everything else to focus on a group of people who are not present and in your face and needing something immediately. And so there have been times where it's been easy to say, like, or it's been hard to put that as the priority above other more urgent needs. So one of the things that along the road, after trying a whole bunch of different things with this age group, was to kind of narrow down and say, where are the key moments that I need to be present? Where is the most impactful times, and how best can I communicate with them? And kind of what I'm doing currently is always a moving target, and every year looks a little bit different, particularly the last 2 years. But prior to the pandemic, we had actually been doing some virtual connections. So this kind of went seamlessly in some ways. Typically for our graduates, so at graduation in May, we have a big congregation celebration celebrating their graduation. We have a meal, and we give out faith journals, which are like a church scrapbook all the way from when they were born, dedicated, and throughout their lifetime at the church. Give those to people. And then there's this sense of shift that I've noticed in our young people. May is a sense of celebration and excitement and confidence. And then August flips into this, oh, this is real. And I'm slightly terrified. This is something new, I'm engaging in. And so I see that for me as that has been the crucial moment to connect with them. And so typically at the beginning of August, before our college freshmen leave, I take them out for coffee and just try to connect with them. What are your classes? What are you looking forward to? What are you terrified of? And just letting them talk. And then I tend to invite them to do virtual connections throughout the year. And so we will schedule, based on how the kids respond to that invitation, we'll schedule times to get together and connect on Zoom. And it's really fun because they've shown up in random places on their college campuses, and I get to kind of have a peek into their world, which is really, really wonderful. So Zoom has been a really awesome way to connect with them and get to hear where they're at, pray with them, encourage them, and just know kind of what they're struggling with. So I can pray with and connect with their parents back here at home and know how to encourage and pray for them. Then in addition, so that I see that as kind of the crucial moment in those first few months. Beyond that, I try to stay connected with the kids on the holidays. We have not had a successful venture in creating a college class or getting kids to come out to a social event. So I have focused more one-on-one when I get a chance to connect with them and say, how are you? I've missed seeing you. We need to connect again. And throughout the summer, I try to connect on social media, like a Facebook message to them if I think of them. Every fall in the bulletin, we print a bulletin insert that has all of the college students and where they're attending college for the congregation to pray for them. And that's a really good thing I keep on my desk. And so kind of try to go through and keep tabs on who have I connected with and who haven't I connected with. So that makes fall an opportune time to connect with them as well. So those are some of the things. I want to be respectful of time. How am I doing, Shanna, on time?
You're doing great.
Okay, so that's kind of what I have pared it down to, is trying to connect in those key moments, because yeah, it can be difficult, and I tend to find that as kids get more connected into their college group, or as I visit with them and they connect in with a church and another ministry, they it's one of those where we're sending them off, we're letting them fly. And so there's a sense in which I take a back seat, but I still try to keep touch base with their parents and keep tabs on them throughout. And oftentimes I get to see them come back for marriage counseling, which is a really wonderful circle, closing that circle then of reconnecting after their college experience. So I'll leave it at that. And then if there are more questions, I'm happy to share more.
Thanks very much, Andrea. Now let's go to Naun.
Hello, everyone. My name is Naun, and I'm located in Elkhart, small town from Indiana State, very close from Illinois to 1 hour away from the north. So I am very close from AMBS and NCUSA office. Elkhart have a population of 50,000 people, very close from our Amish community here too. Goshen College is only 2 miles from my church, so very, very close. Very exposed to a lot of gray and gray minds and good influence. Men of Mecca, I would say. And I a pastor of a new Hispanic church that we started 2 years ago, before actually the pandemic. It is called Piedra Viva Mennonite Church, Livingston. The congregation is very new. We started the church actually before the pandemic. It was very sad for us, but again, God is very grateful, and we're still here, and the church has been very successful, and we are very appreciative some of the help that we're getting from local Mennonite congregation. They are very welcome and support this new Hispanic church. I mean, we were talking about earlier, I'm the only staff here, but we actually have 2 individuals who are helping me with young people right now. There's a guy his name is Rolando, who went to AMBS, who working in the mental health Oakland facility that we have here in Elkhart. The topic of young people, how to stay connected, is not very easy, because we are about to send individuals who are gonna experience independence, freedom. They're gonna meet new people. They're gonna meet new responsibility. These are kids that no longer gonna be needing that parents oversee or that young pastor care. They will be exposed to a new information, new people. One of the things that I recommend to young people here in the church is the first thing they have to do is do networking in college. Who from the church is going to be attending the same school, who from the high school will be attending the same institution. And doing networking for kids who are new would be a good thing. Parents actually play an enormous role. Even the youth pastor spend a lot of time with the young people here at the church. Parents have to play an enormous role. The first 2 months, I recommend parents, please text your kids, sending an email, ask them how they're doing with new people, with new information, with the freedom they're having. Another thing that I think I talk to the people here is, how do you encourage these kids from becoming independent individuals, how do they gonna understand responsibility? Because in college, they will have a new responsibilities. And that's something that I try to, for the Hispanics community, it's kind of hard because we don't want our kids to go to live in the dorm in college. We want they to stay in the basement or maybe in the corner of the house, but please don't leave. It's part of the culture. But young people want to explore their own imagination. We have to challenge these young people how to create their own personality, encourage a student to, to 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 gain knowledge and their own understanding. How do they view God? What do they mean by God? With who they're gonna be in college, who they are in college. It's like a new river to swim that they're gonna be. Because we don't want these young kids to so much they don't want, in some way, we don't want to make them feel that they're just a little baby, that they cannot be independent. We want to actually encourage these kids that they are in a position of responsibility, in a position of leadership, and we, the church, will need those skills in the future, especially when they are about to be exposed to individuals that they don't ever know. It's not the same to be at the church when you have your parents, your pastor, and the youth group oversee you every move you do, to be in college when you're gonna have a lot of freedom. So what are you gonna do with that freedom? What are you gonna do with that new knowledge that you're gaining in college? What are you gonna do what are you gonna do with that new responsibility that you're gonna have? So parents definitely will play an enormous role, because these kids will, being a new group is not easy, especially if you're not a social person. It would be not easy for you to transit from home to a college life, when you have to develop your own way of thinking, your own way of imagining God. I challenge people, young people, to reason with imagination about the kingdom of God as they view it, not as I'm trying to tell them. You know, because they will be our replace, they will be our leaders. So how do you view God? What does even mean God to you? So what is the connection between Jesus Christ? Or what does even mean faith? We used to have these kids who have Anabaptist formation, Christian formation, and faith formation in our churches. But when they are exposed to college, they no longer will have that. So even if the college is not a Christian college, how do we encourage them to stay faithful to, how we parents have been investing in there? I don't know how about doing with time here. Should I stop here?
Thank you, Naomi. You brought up a lot of wonderful points, and yes, that's probably all we can hold and reflect on for now. Thank you. And next, let's go to Amanda.
Hello, greetings from Lancaster County. I am currently the Associate Pastor of Youth at Community Mennonite Church of Lancaster. This is my 6th year in this position, which seems impossible. CMCL created this position just 6 years ago, so I'm the first to hold it, and they were so excited, but kind of have left it be free to my vision. So I serve the junior high and the senior high, and then I said, I should probably do the college kids too, since I know them already. It's kind of convenient. So Shanna asked us what our approach has been to staying connected to young adults after they graduate from high school. And I know these are very churchy words, but I think from CMCL and from me, the answer is just intentional relationship, just intentional. And this service comes from 3 different areas. The first is we have our own precious traditions, like when the kids get sent off for when they graduate, but we have a group of Mennonite women who do a gathering every January to create care packages. All the women come and moms get to share about what their kids are doing and show pictures and give updates. And we create these care packages with letters and send them out to the kids. So that's like a tradition that has been around since the 90s. Then in intentional relationships, there's me, my unique role. I get to know these kids really well. The way that the church introduced this position to me was, we want our youth to know that they have a person. It's their person. So I am their person. And so our kids are dynamite. I don't know about y'all, but our kids are dynamite. And so I've loved getting to know them. A lot of what's already been said, this texting, phone calls, Zoom calls, hangouts. I just had lunch a couple days ago with one of our juniors in college here. Just continuing those relationships that I've built with them, some since junior high. It's just kind of awesome to have that kind of history with a person. And of course, with the kid, I also keep up with the parents. I think keeping up with the parents is just as important. A lot of them can feel really lost when their kids go, and younger siblings too. And as the youth pastor, I work with the younger siblings. So having an intentional person who is looking after and tending these relationships has been huge. CMCL's never had it. And now that I'm in it, I get so much support from the congregation. So everybody's being very intentional. And the big thing I want to share about, that I told Shan about, and she was like, that sounds so cool, is something that I have had absolutely nothing to do with. Back in, 1999, we had a couple in our congregation step forward to donate seed money for an endowment fund. So it's called the Young Adult Endowment Fund. And this couple had really terrible experiences as young people leaving their church. They only got calls from their pastor to see if they were attending church yet or behaving themselves. And they thought, we don't want our kids to feel harassed. We want our kids to feel known and loved. And we want our kids to feel known and loved wherever they go and whoever they choose to be, whether they come back to the church or not, we're sending them in love. And so there's a committee. There are 7 of us that meet twice a year. And this committee splits up all the kids age, not just college, but 18 to 25. And we split them up, and then they're kind of our adoptees that we keep after and check in with. And then twice a year, they got a letter from me and a check for about it's only about $125. But, we had one student call one time. He was crying and he said, Amanda, I didn't know how I was going to make rent this week. And then I opened my mailbox and there was my YAEF check. That kind of stuff is incredible. And I know that it's not feasible for every congregation to be able to make an endowment fund, for heaven's sake. But I think it's the intention of letting our youth know that no matter whether or not they're sitting in church or Zooming in on a Sunday morning, they're always a part of our congregation, that we love them no matter who they are. What's important to us isn't that our kids come back, which is, I think, a message I received a lot as a kid. It's that we've sent them out with what they need educationally, with what they need in learning their values, and that they have a long-lasting positive connection to the capital C church. That is my goal as a youth pastor, and that is our goal when we send out our kids. I was having a conversation with somebody recently. It was a parent who's now an empty nester. And I said, it really feels like my role is to help our kids, our church, we help our kids build their little boats, build their boats as best we can. And then we stand on the shore and we let them go. We give them roots and wings. So that's us over here at CMCL.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate hearing from all 3 of you. And, I also appreciate that we heard, on the one hand, I love that no one is saying to their kids, you are now in a position of leadership and responsibility, and the church is going to need those gifts. And I also love that Amanda's church is saying, we want you to feel loved and and valued, whether you stay within our church and offer your gifts here, or whether you offer your gifts elsewhere. And these are two important and helpful messages, and I don't think they're necessarily opposed to each other.